Hello everyone, welcome to Node University podcast. This Node University short lecture will be about implementing GraphQL API in Node.js. In the previous episode, I made a pretty bold statement that GraphQL is killing RESTful API. I totally believe it, I think it's true, and I'm totally serious about it. GraphQL has so many advantages over RESTful API. RESTful API is just easier to maintain and modify, and it's not as a good developer experience in the long run. So how to implement Node servers and use the GraphQL specification? Well, number one, what you need to do, you need to create a schema. You can do it by hand, manually. You would need to learn GraphQL a little bit, but basically it's very, very similar to JSON. It's not straight up JSON, but it's very similar. What you would do, you would define classes. It would define types such as int, string, and boolean, and other types. You would use a special GraphQL format, which is again similar to JSON, but it's not exactly as JSON. And you can use a tool for that as well. There are a lot of libraries that will take your JSON and give you the schema, or it can go to your database such as Postgres or MongoDB and give you the schema. So once you have the schema, either in the GraphQL format or straight up in Node.js. In Node.js, you can use a special library to define those types such as int, string, etc. So once you have the schema, in the schema, you would also specify how certain things would be resolved. For example, all topics, all transactions, all posts. So those type of queries would be resulting in giving a special type of a query to your database. So now it depends on your actual database. So you would go and implement those queries in the database, whatever database you are using. And you would put the code there. If you have some relationships, you'd also implement those methods there. For example, get customers by order or get products by order ID, something like that. So all those functions, they would be in JavaScript and Node.js in that file, in that schema file. And for the types, you would use the types coming from the GraphQL library. So that's the hardest part. The easiest part is the actual server. The server is just 3 lines of code. I'm not kidding you, it's just 3 lines of code. You just import a GraphQL library, use express middleware, you would say app.use, and you would put a URL such as /GraphQL or app.post/GraphQL. Typically, it's a post endpoint. So all you need is just a single endpoint. You can also not make an endpoint, just create like for all URLs. And you would plug the special library express GraphQL, which takes a couple arguments. It takes the schema as an argument, and that's pretty much it. So all you need to do is just schema, because you already defined in the schema how to extract those queries, how to perform those queries, those mutations. Mutations is just a fancy word for changes. So that's it, just 3 lines of code for the server itself. The bulk of the code would be in the schema. The good thing is that once you implement the schema, you don't need to do anything extra. You can just sit back, relax, and focus on actually solving the problem of your customers, actually developing the interface, working on the client, which is typically the browser front-end application and SPA single page application. So that's it. I'm super excited about GraphQL. It's super great to use it with Node.js. If you want to learn more, go to node.university and you will see a few blog posts. And I'm working on a new course on GraphQL and Relay and Apollo as well. Thanks for watching Node University podcast. My name is Azat Mardan. I'm the lead instructor and founder at Node University, where you can find premier Node.js, JavaScript, and React materials, courses, and tutorials, as well as the community of like-minded developers interested in the full-stack development and guidance of mentors such as myself. We have a Slack channel where we help each other, and you can chat with me, you can chat with other developers as well. Thank you for listening. Make sure you subscribe, and I'll see you in the next episode of Node Podcast.